I'm feeling it. I am feeling it.
So, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who scored only 4 Rouges all last season, Jack.
The Stampeders are over the hump and back on top. 2018 Grey Cup champions.
Yeah, man, I eat chalk for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Here's a 50 to the 40, down near the 20. He's going to score! Touchdown! A chance to win! Will they get it? Yes, they will! Unbelievable! Oh, my goodness!
Whew! Muy caliente.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the 10th edition of the Red, White, and the Rouge podcast. My name's John. You guys can find me on Twitter at John Hewish with a little underscore under it. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host with the most, Rob, also known on Twitter as Rob McSports. And we're here to talk to you about Week 8 in the CFL first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what we can expect in Week 9, because, spoiler alert, we don't know what to expect in Week 9. But,
No.
yeah, speaking of Twitter, hold on. Speaking of Twitter, if you guys haven't been to my Twitter page yet, just go to my page and just watch the video in my pinned tweet.
Oh my god.
It's fun.
It is fun.
Is it time?
It is very well done.
Are you finally on the train with me?
All aboard!
Yeah, because I feel like if I don't get on the train and I miss out on this, it's going to be a big miss. And he's been playing so well, and I really think it's a failure of the Lions that they didn't give him much of a chance. Especially with Jonathan Jennings and a broken Travis Lulay over the last several years.
But still colder than the Trey Mason take, right?
Well, you know what?
I have to. I had to.
We actually looked up the stats. We looked up the stats. Trey Mason was good last year.
And this year he has 0 yards, 0 carries, 0 touchdowns.
I don't think he's on I don't think he's on a roster. I don't know what happened.
No, he's not. But yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way and make sure everybody is on the Cody Fajardo train with me, because I'm the conductor, and honestly, nothing's going to stop it. We're just going to keep rolling. So
all aboard.
Yeah, exactly. That was a fun game to watch last week, though. That was fun.
That was. All the games last week were quite good. I will say I didn't watch the Stamps Eskimos one particularly closely, but the Thursday games and the Friday game were both fantastic football.
Oh God, the Thursday game, that was like ugly to watch from the perspective of what, like, I don't know. It's not even about to throw Matt Nichols under the bus. I'm going to throw Kenny Lawler under the bus. Good God, he looked like Rashawn out there.
Yeah.
Like, Winnipeg could have won that game if Matt Nichols just didn't keep throwing Kenny Lawler the ball and he didn't keep dropping it. And I don't know why at that point late in the game he was throwing it to him after he'd had multiple drops. Like, maybe the Toronto defense was just like, fuck it, this guy's going to drop it anyway. Don't worry about him.
You know, I didn't end up playing Lawler because of injuries, but last week on the pod I said Lawler had been getting a lot more targets, and good Lord did he. He got a ton.
Yeah, he got 6, and that's a lot for a guy at his price.
Yeah.
And if he catches those passes, his line looks a lot better. Yikes. Like, last week was just a fucking mess for DFS. Hold on. Let me just rip into the Hamilton organization. Fuck the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Fuck that entire organization. I hate them all. Fuck them. Like,
Watch your profanity.
first, let's walk through the series of events here. First, Sean Thomas Erlington heads to the injured reserve because Jeremiah Mazzoli throws him a suicide pass.
Yes.
Then Malik Irons starts ahead of Anthony Coombs after Anthony Coombs gets all the carries one week, and he doesn't even touch the ball the next week. Then Jeremiah Mazzoli tears his ACL by choosing not to throw the ball to Brandon Banks in the flat when he was open. If you watch that play back,
I'm not victim blaming Mazzoli there. That things like that happen, but yes, keep going.
And now Dane Evans, the fucking king of the trash, gets Malik Irons injured by throwing an interception on the first offensive play of the game. I hate everything about the Hamilton offense and what it's turned into.
I hate so much about what you choose to be.
They literally choose to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. Oh God, I hate. They were like, fuck. This was a team that literally printed us money last year and for the first few weeks of this year, and what a mess. Honestly,
not to
there's
mention
no other
Luke
word for it.
Tasker just doing nothing. And
Yeah, he does not look good.
he doesn't.
None of that.
He's
nobody on that team
Sinopoli.
looks good.
Yeah. No one looks.
No,
great.
Brandon Banks looks good. That's it.
Brandon Banks
And
does
even
look
then-
good, but I will say he slowed down a bit, and I think he might be fighting an injury, at least something minor. But at this point in the season, I guess who isn't, right?
Yeah, that's a hot take considering he didn't play last week because he was injured. But
Well, yes, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I think for the last several
he's been
weeks,
dealing with it for a while. Yeah. DFS was a mess for me. Like, I was like, oh man, if only I played John Crockett over Malik Irons. Like, no, I still honestly wouldn't have even been close. My secondary lineup, I had Verdon Adams Jr. He got injured too. I had Shaq Evans, had Malik Irons there too. Still somehow managed to cash in a couple contests. Don't really understand. Well, I understand how, because it was a mess. But betting wise, we had a really good week last week. We bounced back. We did. Yeah. We were 0-3 the week before, but last week your lock of the week hit, my lock of the week hit. I was basically right about everything except the over in the Calgary-Edmonton game, which fell like 4 points short. But at the end, it was like Edmonton was driving. There was 42 points. So I'm like, okay, if they score a touchdown, the over hits. And if they don't score a touchdown, then the Calgary money line hits. So
yeah. I also hit. I didn't talk about this, but I also hit on the Red Blacks beating Montreal. And I
like that.
I almost hit. I was really disappointed. I thought the Ticats with Dane Evans, as they were the underdogs, would beat Saskatchewan. But, Cody Fajardo came in and...
Imagine doubting Cody Fajardo.
He pooped right in my Cheerios. Yeah, it was not good. I was very excited, and, I don't think Dane Evans is a good quarterback, but I think Hamilton has enough pieces that they can still be good. And, I think they held up okay.
Yeah. I know this is gonna, again, the whole point of this segment is hindsight.
Yes.
But in looking at it with 2020 hindsight, I was like, man, there was a small part of me that really just wanted to bet on Toronto to beat the Bombers, because it just seemed like, not for no reason other than it just like that would happen.
The odds were 7-1 or something. It was crazy.
Yeah. I think it was actually almost 8.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm going to be honest though, I didn't pull the trigger on that as much as I would have liked to, but that was a tight game. So
that's the thing with CFL. Sometimes it is a little bit better to swing for the fences, because I would say it's much more unpredictable than, for example, NFL, where, the Patriots probably aren't going to lose to this year's Miami Dolphins. It's just, it can happen. Like that year Ronnie Brown pulled out the Wildcat and beat them, but like it's 10 years ago. But
I mean the miracle in Miami last year too. Hey,
that's true. But once again, it's called the miracle in Miami, not Toronto beat Winnipeg, because Winnipeg took their foot off the gas.
Yeah, that's pretty well why they lost, and
100% why they lost.
They've done this before, where they just kind of take their foot off the gas in the second half because they think they're going to win.
People on Twitter were saying Andrew Harris shouldn't, at halftime they were saying, oh, take Harris out, he shouldn't play the rest of the game. And I'm thinking, that's how you lose a game. How stupid are you?
That attitude is how you lose the game.
No, that is exactly how you lose the game. And I thought it was over because Harris was running all over them. But at the same time, you never know, right? And Toronto's not terrible, and McLeod Bethel-Thompson looked good in the first half. So I was thinking, if he keeps this going, they could win.
Yep. Speaking of, we'll start looking ahead to this week now. We've been babbling on for about 8 minutes about last week. Looking forward to this week, DraftKings has absolutely slashed the contest sizes on DraftKings to the bone, honestly. There's no more bootlegs, so there goes the dream of taking that down. But this is, again, one of those things that I go back to, and this kind of goes back to what I mentioned a couple weeks ago with the sports betting versus the DFS thing. Sports betting, that there is no need to change your volume. You can still win the same amount of money that you could have won any other week this season. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, me and myself and Rob, we kind of come on the show every week. I don't look at how many people listen to this. This is like a passion thing for me. But for you guys, it's like, you definitely want to make money with it too. And it's like, at this point, where are you more likely to win more money? It's honestly with sports betting. I'm not trying to shit on DFS. I'm just saying, like, the contests are so limited, and, you know, even myself, it's like I'm just, you know, looking for pretty well anything I can to enter at this point, because apparently people like NFL preseason DFS, and I hate it so much.
That sounds
I hate
really
the NFL
stupid.
now.
As well, it's very hard to do CFL DFS right now, harder than usual, because the injuries are quite significant. And as we've mentioned, the receivers aren't being consistent and all that kind of stuff. So it's quite tricky right now. I'm definitely, like, I'm cashing about half the time in my lineups, but I would say I would be cashing a lot more if people weren't hurt, but I'm making significant money off the straight up sports betting. So, the contests don't really bother me that much because I'm just putting less money in.
Yeah, I feel like it's, I feel like the return on investment with DFS is better because, honestly,
it definitely
as
is.
stupid as it sound, I've been the beneficiary of the injuries more often than not, because I did have Sean Thomas Erlington that week. He got injured, but I also had a lineup with William Stanback when he went for 200 yards and no Sean Thomas Erlington. So I think in the end that actually ended up benefiting me. So yeah, I mean, it's just luck though. That's
exactly.
It's nothing to do with being able to predict.
Yeah, then it's gambling, as I say.
I mean, it's just NFL preseason's gambling. Like, look at the shit that's coming off my timeline. Roethlisberger to Xavier Grimble touchdown over the middle in practice. Like, who cares? Why is this on my timeline? How does it make it there? How is this making it to other people's timelines? Like, oh my god.
Grimble. Anyway,
we should honestly.
We should probably get into the first game of the week, which is Calgary at Winnipeg, and Winnipeg are 8-point favorites with a total of 48.5. John, what do you think of the Winnipeg backfield? Quarterbacks, running backs, all that good stuff.
The Winnipeg backfield, Andrew Harris is up to 11,000, and he has shown us yet again that he has the safest floor and one of the higher ceilings in DFS. And in regards to the floor, it's honestly not really even close. Maybe Brandon Banks, but I'm not playing him with Dane Evans. I can imagine a situation again where Andrew Harris is catching a minimum of 5 passes this week because Matt Nichols is panicking because of Calgary's pass rush, and he just dumps it down to Andrew Harris. Boom, there's 1 point right there. Andrew Harris tends to do this thing where he makes something out of nothing as well. 11,000 is such a steep price tag, though. Like, I still think you find a way to do it, and there could be a lot of value that opens up depending on the injuries, but I'm definitely keen on playing him again this week, even with the price bump. And even it's a tough matchup, though. Like, Calgary's been good against the run. I don't know.
You're very right. One thing I'll add too about Harris is you're absolutely right. He makes something out of nothing, and I think it's because they do almost an option screen pass every play. Like, there are plays where he stops to block, and if there's no one for him to block, he just goes out and runs a little screen play. He did it several times last week and got significant yardage. So he's expensive, but I think that's where you're going to make a lot of points this week, especially with once again with Banks hurt and Mazzoli hurt and the Lions being a shit show.
As for the Calgary backfield, Scary Terry, I didn't end up playing him last week, but you guys know the Jules and McPicks lineups are locked in as soon as we say them, so I got the compensation points from that. But if him and Romar Morris are the only 2 running backs again this week, Terry Williams isn't going to get carries. So we can go back to Romar Morris at 5,900. The fact that he got that many touches coming back from how quickly he came back from an Achilles injury is honestly amazing.
It is. I think the receiving is what really got me. 5 catches. That's a lot. Especially for Nick Arbuckle, who really does spread the ball around a lot. And I thought he played really well. I was surprised.
Lucky Whitehead 7,000 this week. I don't love it, but he gets a lot of kick return yardage on kickoffs mainly. So that kind of gives him a decent floor, even though he only caught like 3 catches last week. He still put up double-digit points. Kenny Lawler and Chris Matthews are your cheaper options with Darvin Adams still out. I mean, you're going to look there. You could go Kenny Lawler at 4,600. I wouldn't fault you for it. Same with Chris Matthews, honestly. Like that's a name that hasn't been relevant in a hot minute, but as much as I don't like the idea of playing Matt Nichols at all, he's not even on my list this week. I'm considering more so Lawler and Matthews for salary relief than Lucky Whitehead. Lucky Whitehead's obviously an upside guy where you're hoping he catches that long touchdown and then returns a kick, and then that's where you're getting the points.
Yeah. I mentioned this before the podcast, but I think it's something that our listeners should know. They mentioned on TSN last week that Matt Nichols doesn't have a single receiver in the top 10. So Whitehead, I believe, is like 16th in the league, and Darvin Adams isn't in the top 10. And these are good players. So I think they're spreading the ball around an awful lot, and I don't blame them because Dembski can catch. Kenny Lawler apparently can catch. Chris Matthews had an amazing first half last week. He was all over the field and pulling for extra yards. So I think if you're going for the Winnipeg receiving core, you really do want to go for those cheaper guys. I don't think it's worth spending the money on Whitehead. Maybe Dembski because they try to get him in on the run. But Lawler and Matthews, I think, are probably the plays if you feel like you have to play a Winnipeg receiver. That goes for Wolotarski too, but he's still more expensive than Lawler and Matthews.
Anybody else you want to mention in this one?
Yeah, just a thing with the Calgary receiving core. I've mentioned it before. Arbuckle spreads the ball around way too much to be spending a lot of money on guys like Begelton or Ambles or whatever. It doesn't really make sense.
All right, let's jump into Saskatchewan at Montreal. Montreal are 2-point dogs at home, and the total in this one is 50.5. Cody Fajardo, aka the GOAT, is 9,700. I don't see any reason to fade him against this Montreal secondary. I mean, even though they have looked better and they've been winning games more, they're still giving up the most passing yards in the CFL on average. Cody Fajardo's under 10,000 still. He has the rushing touchdown upside, even though he got vultured by William Powell again last week. And he has Shaq Evans and Kyron Moore at his disposal. Shaq Evans injured himself in practice yesterday, I believe. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know, honestly. Your guess is as good as mine as far as Shaq Evans is concerned. But if he's out, then it's Kyron Moore, and if he plays, then I still have interest in Kyron Moore.
Either way, yeah.
Yeah.
Shaq Evans is obviously the number one target for Fajardo at this point. I think we can all agree to that. But Kyron Moore's been playing well as well. I think $1,100 cheaper is not bad. If Shaq Evans is out as well, it's important to mention that Kenny Stafford just got traded from Edmonton to Saskatchewan. So that means that guys like Arsenault, Roosevelt, Watson are guys you probably are for sure fades now, because I think Stafford comes in and immediately comes into that first tier of Saskatchewan receivers. Even though I don't think he's as good as Evans or Kyron Moore, he is still better than Roosevelt, Arsenault, etc.
On the Montreal side of the ball, my only interest is in Jeremiah Johnson if William Stanback sits out. That's another one that looks like a coin flip at this point, honestly.
Yeah.
So 58, I think that's fine for him. I mean,
I agree.
And Romar Morris are that's tough. If him and Romar Morris are starting, which one do you choose?
I play, that is tricky. I probably play Jeremiah Johnson. But I really don't think you can go wrong. I think both guys are good. I think Morris has more catching upside. I think Jeremiah Johnson has more rushing upside and probably more touchdown upside. But I think he'll probably get less touches.
All right. That's it for me, honestly, on the Montreal side of the ball. I mean, with Antonio Pipkin, my interest in this team just falls off a cliff.
I'm higher on Pipkin than you are, but even still, without Posey, who I believe is Pipkin's number one receiver in terms of kind of, familiarity. I don't know. Maybe it'll be Quan Bray, maybe it'll be BJ Cunningham, but at this point, yeah. We don't have enough.
Geno Lewis, too.
It could be Geno Lewis. We just don't have enough sample size with Pipkin to really predict things, so probably a fade.
Yeah, that offense is a stay away situation unless Stanback sits. So let's hop into the third game of the week, which is Ottawa at Edmonton. Edmonton are 9-point favorites at home. The total in this one is 48. Trevor Harris, we know he does good as a favorite. He's a 9-point favorite here. It's tough for me to pay 500 less for Cody Fajardo, and Trevor Harris is there for 500 more in a good matchup against his old team in a spot that he usually excels in. It's hard.
Yeah, I agree.
No interest in Dominique Davis this week. CJ Gable at 8,000. I think he's fine. He's been so mediocre, putting up like 10, 11 points as like an 8,000 guy for seemingly every week since week 1. John Crockett's fine if Moses Madu is still out, but not a ton of excitement in either of those backfields. I just kind of like Gable, I guess, for the floor.
It's too bad that Dominique Davis isn't running the ball as much. I feel like that may have been a coaching decision. They asked him to just kind of maybe calm it down. And I think that was a mistake because you see a lot of plays where he rolls out to the side and is just like kind of strolling looking for a receiver instead of just tucking it and running. Maybe it's because he got hurt. He's a little bit afraid. I don't know, but Dominique Davis is someone who, coming into the season, I was like, wow, great, a running quarterback who can put up points two ways. He's not showing that. He didn't show that last week. Maybe this week he'll show it again, and he might become a legitimate option, but as of now, definitely a stay away.
Ricky Collins Jr. is up to 8,200. He had a huge week last week on 2 very long touchdowns from Trevor Harris. Greg Ellingson is expected to be back this week, so 8,200 for Collins Jr. is just...
Nope.
That's just too much if Ellingson's back. But Kevin Elliott, sneaky last week. He made it to double-digit targets.
He did.
With Kenny Stafford out of the picture, 4,500. That has me excited.
I think Kevin Elliott's start last week is probably the catalyst for what got Kenny Stafford out. He seemed like a legitimate receiving target, and he looked really good. The parts of the game I watched, he looked like the number one receiver out there. And once again, with Ricky Collins Jr., as we've said before, he had an amazing week last week. It's probably not happening again this week. That just seems to be how he rolls.
Speaking of the Kenny Stafford trade, in return, the Edmonton Eskimos got Christian Jones, who is only 2,900. At 2,900, if he is only returning kicks and returning kicks only, then I would honestly pay that price for him. But we need confirmation that he will even be playing. Doesn't have a lot of a playbook to learn. He just has to return the kicks. That's it. And he's listed as a wide receiver as well. So I like that he's not listed as a running back. Again, Rob and I have been liking to play 3 running backs most weeks, so this gives you the option to still do that if you want to play him if he's makes it onto the depth chart as their kick returner. Eskimos D?
I like the Eskimos D this week.
Yeah, they've been good.
Yep.
They've been good.
And they're very inexpensive.
Mm-hmm. All right, that seems to be it for that game. Moving into the last one of the week, which is BC. They are traveling to Hamilton. Hamilton are an 11.5 point favorites, and the total in this one is 51.5 points. So BC is allowed the most passing touchdowns in the league. So after I said everything that I said about the Hamilton Tiger Cats organization, it would make sense that I played Dane Evans, right?
Yeah. No. So here's the thing. This is a must-win for 2 things here. One is it's a must-win for BC. BC has to beat this banged-up Hamilton team. With Sean Thomas-Erlington out, Mazzoli out, and potentially Brandon Banks out, they need to win this game.
I think Banks is likely to play for what it's worth.
Oh,
so
God.
I think you can kind of factor that in.
Well, either way, it's a must-win for BC.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is a game that Dane Evans needs to win. He's got the better team. He's playing just an awful team right now. So he really needs to win this. It'll be big for his confidence. It'll be his first win as a starter in the CFL, and that's a big deal. He had a really bad first throw last week. He didn't put up a ton of yards, but I think he'll be better this week. It hurts to lose that late in a game to Cody Fajardo. I know it hurt me, but and I think he'll be coming out and he'll be trying to show something, and hopefully his receivers pull through for him. And Malik Irons should be back too, so he'll have more. He'll be better on the ground. He'll have more support in the rush because I don't think Anthony Coombs is an every down back.
Yeah. Malik Irons will be back just in time so Dane Evans can get him injured again. It'll be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, I can't with this team. I can't right now. Like if Brank sits, then maybe it's Braylon Addison 8100. Probably not Luke Tasker, but maybe you go back to Malik Irons against BC's Grundy. God, they look they're JV football looking ass tackling. Like
it's rough. It's so rough.
For me, it's honestly Irons and then Evans, and if Banks plays, those are the only two guys on that team I'm considering. And the list of players I'm considering on BC is so short that there's nobody on it. So
why don't we go through that very short? I guess you could take Lamar Durant maybe, but he's slowed down lately. Brian Burnham seems to consistently be getting receptions even if the team is being destroyed. Anyone else?
No, but for what it's worth, I mean, as much as we've been shitting on BC, I think 11.5 is a pretty generous spread to give Dane Evans.
It is an extremely generous. It's a very generous spread. I will be betting on BC. That's not my lock of the week, but I will be probably betting on BC to cover that spread, at least by a bet.
Yeah, you guys will probably see me tweeting about that one as well. Hopefully, I'll try to tweet it out soon. I mean, these lines are. That's the only one that's really moving. I think Winnipeg were 8.5 point favorites at open. Now they're down to 8. So,
John, we should be doing these as a graph. We'll do them. We should do them together. These lines, like it makes more sense that way.
It does.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that.
Graphs are fun too.
We'll think about doing that this week, guys. Stay tuned for that. Check out the Twitter.
All right. That is the end of the game-by-game breakdown for this week's 4 games. Let's jump into the Jewels versus the McPicks, and it is 7-1 this year. So
is it 7-1 really? Like wait, did you win last week?
Yes, you had Kadeem Carey and Shaq Cooper who combined
right
0 points.
See, this is what I mean by injuries, boys. It's fucking me.
All right. Well, I mean, in that case, let's start with the
McPicks.
All right. So for my quarterback, I have Dane Evans because the lines are awful. Running back, I have Andrew Harris. Receivers, I have Kieran Moore. I'm kind of hoping that Shaq Evans doesn't play. That'll give him a lot more catches. I have Kevin Elliott as my other wide receiver because he's cheap and showed a lot last week. CJ Gable is my first flex, and then I have Malik Irons as my second, and then I have the Eskimos D, which is brutally underpriced this week. Everyone should be playing them.
All right, time for the I'm rocking with Trevor Harris at quarterback this week for now. For what it's worth, my quarterback rankings for this week, there's only really 3 I'm considering: Harris, Fajardo, and Dane Evans, and it's in that order, to be frank. So Trevor Harris, Andrew Harris as my running back. I have the same receivers as Rob this week. I like Kevin Elliott. You could go Kenny Lawler, but Elliott did look just miles better just as a player than Lawler last week. So there's that. Kyron Moore as well. Fingers crossed that Shaq Evans sits. CJ Gable is my first flex, and then I got Christian Jones as my second flex, hoping that he makes his Eskimos debut. And then I have the Ticats defense special teams because even if BC does keep this one close, you can bet that they're going to get a few sacks on Mike Riley.
Yep.
Okay, time for The Price is Right. All right, Romar Morris, come on down. I know, guys, I know he wasn't in my lineup, but I really like that price tag for him here, especially if it's basically just him. Terry Williams is a running back. I'm doing air quotes because he's basically a kick returner. So it's going to be Romar Morris's backfield, and honestly, if William Standback sits, then we just make that little shift over to Jeremiah Johnson. But both those guys are definitely priced really well, just under $6K, and I like the floors for both of them.
I agree with that. For my Price is Right, I have Kevin Elliott. Kevin Elliott had 10 targets, 88 yards, and now that Kenny Stafford is gone, will be more prominent in the offense. Wow, I completely messed that up. Anyway, I think another Price is Right is Irons, as long as he's playing and he doesn't get hurt. 5,300, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I agree. All right, time for everybody's favorite segment, the
Lock of the week.
My lock of the week this week is the exact same as last week. I just realized that.
Oh my god.
It is, yeah. Riders, I think I had the -2.5 last week. I'm going to take the -2 in Montreal this week. I'm going to take Andrew Harris as my lock of the week, player-wise. Not if you didn't listen last week, you didn't miss much because I just said the same thing.
Nice.
Yeah, you got some bit of a shift there though. Interesting choice for your player lock of the week. I like that though.
Yeah, for me, for my gambling lock of the week, I have the Stamps +8. I think this is going to be I really don't think Winnipeg is a touchdown plus better than Calgary, and I think Calgary could even win this game, especially as Arbuckle keeps showing consistently that he can run a CFL offense. And as my player lock of the week, I actually have the Eskimos defense. They're getting sacks like nobody's business. They've got a pretty solid matchup this week. I like it.
Yeah, if Dominique Davis is still a little bit immobile from his injury, then that's a really good option.
That's exactly what I was thinking. If Dominique Davis isn't going to run with the ball, Edmonton will sack him several times. And we already know he's not a great passing quarterback, so he'll throw a pick, probably.
Yep. I think that's it. I think we got week 9 covered, guys. Remember the guys to keep an eye on mainly: William Stanback, Greg Ellingson, and Luke Tasker are expected to play. So it's basically Shaq Evans and Stanback that are the two big question marks. And if Christian Jones is in, honestly, you can take a flyer on him as well. But it's like you said before the show, just everybody relevant in the league is questionable this week. So
everyone,
should be
that
fun.
Is a great way to say it. Yeah, no, it's actually a lot like NFL preseason. There's comparisons here.
Yeah, I mean, at least within this situation, the players play the whole game and not just like 2 drives. But
that's also true.
God, I'm sorry. Okay, I need to end this before I start talking about NFL preseason again, guys. That's it for the show. If you're listening to this on iTunes, please leave it a rating. If you're listening to it on YouTube, please drop a like. If you're listening to it on the Google Play Store, leave it a rating as well. Any of that would be super greatly appreciated. Rob and I will be on Twitter posting our favorite bets, taking your guys' questions, etc. for this weekend. So, best of luck, and if we don't talk to you on Twitter, then we will talk to you next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.